Welcome now to Saints in the Shadows. Hear the stories of the saints, learn about things you never knew. See if you can figure out who the saint is before the end.
Oh man, that's right. Like a ruler slapped against a desk. That's what we do.
That's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Let me tell you about a man who stood so firmly for the truth that history eventually had to invent a phrase just to describe him. Because when no one else would stand, when emperors leaned, when bishops wavered, when crowds decided compromise sounded kinder than conviction, they didn't call him a hero while he lived, because there was one man who simply didn't move. They called him difficult. They called him a troublemaker. They called him dangerous. But for tonight, we'll call him the man against the world. But that part comes later. He was born in Alexandria. Now, if you've ever wanted a quiet life, Alexandria was not the place to look. This was a city that argued theology in the streets and rioted over ideas. A city that produced saints and heretics, sometimes in the very same family. And from that city came a boy, bright, watchful, serious, who learned early that words matter. Because if you get the words wrong, you get God wrong. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was not a small problem in the 4th century. The question sounded innocent enough. Was Jesus truly God, or merely close? Was he eternal, or created? Most people thought the argument was unnecessary. Why split hairs, they said. Why not just agree to disagree? But this young man understood something about something others did not. If Christ is created, then salvation is borrowed. And borrowed salvation can be taken away. He watched as bishops gathered, councils were called, creeds were written, and for a moment, just a moment, it seemed like the truth had prevailed. The heresy was condemned, the arguments ended, or so they thought. Soon the teachers returned. The emperors wanted peace. Bishops wanted compromise. Just soften the language. Just change one little phrase. Unity matters more than precision. That's when the trouble began. Because the young man, now a bishop, said no. Not loudly, not angrily, just no. What followed was a lesson history loves to forget. Truth does not always win immediately. Sometimes it just survives. He was exiled, then brought back, then exiled again. He was driven out of his diocese 5 times. 5! He hid among monks in the desert. He slept in tombs. He was smuggled from house to house while lesser men took his office and called it peace. And still, he wrote. Someone once warned him, "The whole world is against you." He answered calmly, "Then I am against the world." But he wasn't stubborn. He was clear. Clear that God cannot be negotiated. Clear that truth does not depend on a vote. Clear that the faith handed down does not change because emperors do. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the tide turned. The emperors passed on. The compromises fell apart. The creed endured. The man who had been too difficult was suddenly called faithful. He died quietly at home at last. No exile, no soldiers, just peace. But history wasn't done with him, because the church realized something extraordinary, that without this one man who lost friends, exile after exile, who chose truth over acceptance, Christianity itself might have lost its center. That man had a name. a name whispered in exile, argued over in councils, honored by generations who never faced what he faced. His name was Athanasius, Bishop of Alexandria, defender of Christ's divinity, saint in the shadow for today. Well, actually not today, for May 2nd. So I believe that is Saturday. And so, if you would like to celebrate Saint Athanasius, you certainly can. The dish that they had suggested was called, I'm gonna mess this up, Tamaya fava bean fritters.
Whoa.
So there's a mouthful. So it's basically fava bean fritters, which honestly, fava beans need a little help. I actually like fava beans, but you definitely in a fritter might be a good way to do them.
Like a corn fritter, but with fava beans.
Apparently with Tamaya. So
you know what? I could do that.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back to that page here, so I can read a little bit more about it, because I opened up a different book. Yeah, lots of spices in this. Lots of spices.
With fava beans, you got to cover them up.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of spices. What does it say about this? They're similar to falafel, an old Egyptian favorite. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. And the drink of the day is called a contramundum. And
wow.
And that's very fitting, because contramundum is Latin for against the world. It's kind of you can look it up. You can do like a Google search and find a recipe for it, and it's got some bitters in it and stuff. So it's got a little bit of bitter in there. So here's the thing. Like I was doing this, getting ready for tonight, and I was like, have we done Saint Athanasius? And I couldn't remember. And then I went back to my sheets, but my sheet. So the thing is when we started this, and it wasn't called Saints and Shed, it's called Lives of the Saints. And I was writing these. I was writing these, and I didn't save them. I just didn't.
Oh,
I guess I didn't think it would take off. I don't know. I guess I thought I would quit after a while. So anyway, so I didn't save them. So I have no idea what my first ones were. I'd have to go back and re-listen to the Lives of the Saints.
The name sounds familiar to me, which I don't know a lot of saints. So I feel like maybe we did, or maybe you did. But I mean, I'm not complaining, because I obviously don't remember well enough to remember.
So Saint Athanasius is a big one, because we do the Athanasian Creed.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so, so he's a big name. And by the way, Athanasius did not write the Athanasian Creed, but it was written in a style that is very similar to his. And so it's a lot of times it's equated with him.
Right.
And even my little thing here, it kind of talked about his precision of language. I had a little bit of fun with the whole exile and stuff. He was crazy. He was he jumped out of a window and escaped.
Oh, wow.
And he escaped to the desert. Now, what's really interesting about that is, I know we've done St. Anthony, and St. Anthony was one of the first quote unquote monks, so to speak. There were lots of people that would go out into the desert. There's a few Bible verses that talk about, and kind of this actually equates to our first topic whenever we was talking about demonology, but there's a few Bible verses that talk about, demons going across desolate places. And so the way the ancients viewed that is that demons are in the desert. And by the way, there's nothing, I guess I don't have any verses or anything to say that that's not true, I guess is the best way to say that. But it is kind of interesting. But yeah, so a lot of people would go out and live in exile, in essence, or live alone in the desert. But a lot of them would just go out there for a while, and then they'd come back, and then a lot of them were driven crazy or mad from the solitude. And so very few people made it, and very few people made it so successfully that they became known for it. And St. Anthony was one of those. He was the first one that made it, and was very successful and not crazy, and just but part of the reason for that is like stuff like this, like Saint Athanasius went and lived with him for a while. The reason we know about Saint Anthony is because of Saint Athanasius.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's the one who wrote everything down about Anthony. So
interesting.
So yeah, no, it's really, really fascinating. And again, the history that I wrote in there is actually pretty decent too, because, because again, like, so obviously we're talking about the Arian controversy, right? Like there's a time, Jesus was created kind of thing. That's what Arius believed. And we've talked about that in a few of the other past episodes. And basically the Council of Nicaea kind of defeated it. It went down. It was nothing. And then all of a sudden, like the Arians kind of did these political maneuvers, and they kind of convinced the emperor, and the emperor kind of backtracked a little bit. And especially towards the end of his life, he did. And so the Arian controversy actually reared its ugly head again. And during one of those escapades, they were going after Athanasius, and that's when he was exiled. Well, one of the times he was exiled anyway.
Yeah.
And so, again, Athanasius lived a crazy life. He was also very, very short, and realized that Alexandria is in the northern part of Africa. So he was an African. He had incredibly dark complexion and was actually known for his dark complexion. And he was also incredibly short. So it's one of those things, like if you think this is one of those interesting things. If you think Christianity is filled with a bunch of just Caucasian people, you're actually incredibly wrong. Most of our good founding fathers had very dark complexions.
Oh yeah. Well, and the first Bible was Ethiopian, right? Is that correct?
The first Bible,
or the first like official Bible, wasn't it? Or am I off about that?
Yeah, I mean, again, that was a little bit harder to track.
Oh, okay.
So
I just know that there's a lot of times people claim that basically Christianity was forced upon the world by Caucasian, Europeans or something. And that's not true. There's a lot of countries that developed it long before any like British colonies came around or anything like that.
Oh yeah. No. It started very much in like the northern African areas, Egypt and the Middle East, of course. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, is there any other things to talk about there? Otherwise, I'll close that segment out.
I think we're good.
All right.
And so it ends. The light shines in the shadow. And now you know more about the story of one of the saints of history.